I have today the holy grail of all home video decks ever produced. This is the Sony SLHF1000 Super Betamax with Beta 1 Super High Band. There was no better consumer VCR that you could buy at the time. This one tops them all. I have an SLHF1000 Betamax. The holy grail of all Betamax machines. It was sold as the SLHF1000 in Japan. The North American version was the SLHF1000. Both decks are functionally identical. This unit features 3 speeds: Beta 1, Beta 2, and Beta 3. In Beta 2 and 3, it will record in standard Betamax and Super Beta format. In Beta 1, it will record in Beta 1 Super or in Beta 1 Super High Band. There's a switch to select the Beta 1 record speed. If the Beta 1 tapes were going to be played back on a machine other than an SLHF1000 or an SLHF3000, the Beta 1S switch should be turned off to make the format compatible with the other models that featured Beta 1S. Now, the Beta 1S speed, or the Beta 1S format on this recorder, is not compatible with the first generation of Beta 1, which was non-high band. It was low band. Beta 1S is high band, and Beta 1 SHB meaning super high band, which was a 6 megahertz high band format. And it was only on the Beta 1 speed that they offered that, and only on this model. This one came in, and this one here, the complaint is no picture. I can verify that I've got no E2E video. I've got sound from the tuner, but we have no video. So no E2E video and no playback video is the complaint. So this one could be a challenge. Let's tear into it. Now, as you guys may remember, I have 2 of these beasts myself. One of them suffered a head drum seizing up, and I took the head drum out of an SLHF900, and I kept the head disc from the 900. So my original head, which is fine for the other machine, the one that seized up, I put that back in my SLHF900 just as a placekeeper. If the head eventually wears out, I can swap the disc and swap the rotary transformer for the flying erase heads, because that was the only difference between the 900 and the 1000. They were both 4-head machines. This one has the additional 2 heads, which are fed through its own rotary transformer. The rotary transformer below feeds the regular 4 video heads, and the rotary transformer on top up here feeds the flying erase heads. So all I need to do, if the heads wear out on mine, is pull the rotary transformer off the top, change the head disc, put the rotary transformer back on top, and plug in the cable. But since I don't use the machine as an editing machine, I have one that I could use as the editing machine if I wanted to record something on beta. If I wanted to do say a linear setup for a demonstration, I would just use the one machine that doesn't have the flying erase head on it as a playback machine, and use the other one as the record deck, because other than that, they are identical. That gives me one spare head with flying arrays that I'm going to hang on to just in case I need it. But these were the best of the beta machines ever made, and they're getting pretty long in the tooth now, so I'm starting to see a few things that are starting to crop up on them. This one with a video problem, I'm going to probably have to get the service manual out and start tracing the video circuit to see where we've lost it. So it's going to involve using a scope. So I've got both the manual and the supplement, because this set had modified YC boards and processing boards. So tell from the last digit which board this has in it. If it's got the following boards, it's got these last digits, 12, 13, 12, 12, 12, 12. It uses this manual as opposed to the main manual. So we look at our line output and our video out and our monitor out, start or end over here. We follow outputs 25 and 26. We come back to, here's 25 and here's 26. So they're both fed from the same source. This one's off of the collector of Q119, and this one is off of the emitter of Q119, and this one is off the emitter of Q120. But our video comes back from here.
Believe it or not, I'm already in the area of the fault, as we'll figure out shortly.
There's a blanking transistor over here. Just kind of looking at the schematic first so we can go in and start looking for signals. So if we look at our signals here, we'll see that both these transistors are both fed from a 9-volt supply. This one here, the collector going to this 9-volt supply, and this other one, the collector going to this, and the input voltage should be 8.9 volts. So both of these are fed from a 9-volt supply. So the first thing to look at is the 9-volt regulator working? Because loss of 9 volts on that supply will kill the output. So you see things sometimes when you think, oh, it's video circuit. Well, it might not be the video circuit. It might be a problem back at the power supply. So let's go check the 9-volt regulated source. So if we trace our power feed comes up here, the red line, comes all the way back to this regulated 9-volt input over here. And this tells me to go to page 154. And if I go to page 154 in the schematic, let's do that. Page 154 is right here, our regulated 9 volts. And if we trace that back, we'll find that it comes up from here to PC22. It says see page 210. My manual's falling apart. But if we go to page 210, which is right over here, we will see that this one here, switch 9, comes through. Switch 9 comes through, and it comes off of pin number 10 of IC002, the STK5441 regulator, which is this bugger at the back here, which is a very common failure, and the part itself is no longer available. And it failed on mine, and I stole the one out of another machine. I think I took it out of my SLHF1000 actually to fix mine, but I've had this failure before. Let's check and see whether we've got our 9 volts there. Test point is CN3, which is down here underneath this one. CN3 pin number 1, which is right there. Do we have our 9 volt? So we do have our 9 volts. So it's not the regulator that's bad, but now we know. We can now start to look into the video circuit because our power is there, our 9 volts is there. So it's not the regulator, which is good because, as I say, this regulator is impossible to find. I tried, and I ended up having to pull one out of a machine, cannibalize one machine to fix another. So let's start checking. Now that we know that the 9 volts is okay here, let's get into the video board. The nice thing about these machines is that the boards fold down to work on. This is the audio section here. Video is on this side of the board. This line demarks the audio from video circuits. Let's look at the signal coming off of IC102 pin. I see it here. Pin 15 should have video. Okay, I've got video there. That's coming out of the pin 15 of IC102, which is the video processor. And from there it goes into, looks like it goes into pin 3 of IC103, and then it comes out pin 4. It comes back into pin number 17 of the same IC. So IC102, yeah, pin 17. So 15, and I should have the video there, and I have nothing coming back. Aha! So let's take a look at the schematic. So this is where we had video. Where am I here? Pin 15. Where am I? Where's my picture? Where's my camera, I should say. It's hard to see on this bench. I have video here at pin 15. It leaves pin 15. It goes through a couple transistors. It goes into pin 7 of IC103, which I haven't checked yet. I haven't found that one. It's on this board somewhere, but it's kind of buried. But it comes back out from IC103, and it goes back into that same IC, pin 17. So it comes out pin 15. Okay, it's the same IC, IC101. That's half of it there, and the other half of it is over here. It goes back into pin 17. And I've got nothing here. I've got signal over here. I have no signal here. So somewhere in this circuit here, we are losing our signal. Let's check this out and see where we're losing it. I just noticed something. IO13. 16220613. Damn, it's on this. It's on the addendum, the supplement. So the schematic I'm looking at is not the right schematic. So let's just look it up on this one. I think this is it here. See what changes they've made on it. It might be the same as anyway. Let me just look here. I got the same area off the schematic here. Okay, so this part looks the same. It goes back, yeah, it comes out from IC102. It goes back into pin number 17, the same as before. The IC I need to check, that's where I appear to be losing the video, is IC103. IC103 is right down here. And the problem is, as you can see, I had to go in from the top. I couldn't measure it from the bottom because the front panel is in the way. I have to take that out to access it from the bottom. So to test it from the top, I had to lift out both the main tuner board and the audio board and prop the audio board out of the way and tie it out of the way to hold it up out of the way so I could actually test it without anything shorting out. That's what makes these machines sometimes a pain in the butt to work on because they're very crammed inside.
Still a lot easier to work on than JVC junk, though.
We'll turn the power back on. And now I can look at my input, which goes in on pin 7 and comes out on pin 4 of IC103. So let's look at pin 7, the input. Well, let's look at pin 4 first of all. There's nothing on pin 4. 5, 6. Pin 7 has video going in. If I show you guys the scope, I'll show you pin 7 and then pin 4. So there's pin 7 and there's pin 4. I have no signal coming out of this IC. Let's check the input. If we look at this IC, I'll show it to you guys here. Let me see if I can position the camera so you guys can see what I'm doing. So here's IC103. It's right here. We have input on pin 7. We have nothing on pin 4. Let's check pin 1 and see if we've got our 9-volt supply. Pin 1 is our power supply. If we've got no voltage there, that would explain why the IC is not passing a signal. So pin 1, 0 volts. So our feed comes in to the board on CN222, the blue line here. That's the feed coming in. We looked at the other schematic when I was tracing it back towards the power supply. So the blue line is 9 volts. So we have power getting to this circuit. And following the schematic, if we looked at the schematic from before, it looks like it goes through L107. There should be a little coil in here. Where's L107? L107 is this one down here. I want to try and keep my meter in plain view because I'm troubleshooting this in real time. L107, I got 9 volts there. I got 0 volts on this side of L107. I'm doing this in real time. I'll show you guys on the schematic. I'm sure that coil is open. Let's take a look at the schematic. Remember, this is where we started out. This is our video output because 25 and 26, these two with the green marks on it, those are our video output. That's the coil feeding in. That's where I've got voltage on one side and I don't have voltage on the other. So I bet if I just jumper over that coil, we'll see video come on. Let's try it. Trying to get the whole thing in view here for you guys. I'll just use an alligator clip to kind of jump over that coil. One side open, of course. Watch the monitor up here. When I put the jumper in place, ta-da! We have video. Cool, huh? That coil is open. And a close look at it shows that you can see a little black spot there where it's popped. 10 microhenry. Let me see. I might have one. So a special trip into the big city to get a new 10 microhenry coil. More time spent driving in to get the part than it's going to take to fix this machine. So it's L107 I have to remove. Which is right here. I can put my boards back in now before powering it up because I know that it's going to fix it, as I've already confirmed that. So let's get the 3 screws in here for the ground.
Now, if you guys think this is going to fix it, you'd be wrong. Because you see, the owner got his fingers into it. When there was no video, the owner figured, oh, this is an alignment problem. And he got in and he started fuxing around with all the adjustments. Had the alignment out on the audio control head, had the alignment out on the tape path. So I spent a lot more time getting this thing back set up the way that it should have been. And it would have been had the owner not thought that he could just start screwdrivering things and make it work. When there was no video, there was obviously a reason why, and it was not to do with an alignment problem. If the alignment's out, you'll have a picture. It just won't be a very good one. But a lot more work was created, which I'll find out when I try to play a tape. I've got the video working now, but I'm still a long ways from having this unit complete and ready to go.
All right, let's fire the unit up. I have a picture. Both outputs are live. Having the schematic handy turned a nasty job that could have taken hours into short work. Because we were able to trace the circuit, it made short work of this problem. You remember when I first started, we started out and I said, very first thing I said was, we have no video output. Therefore, here's our outputs here. One with the on-screen display and one without. And they both pick up their power from the 9-volt supply. So I thought maybe we may have had a 9-volt supply problem. So we chased it back to the power supply and proved that we had 9 volts at the power supply. So at that point, I started looking at the video. Follow the video through the circuit. I had no video here on my output. So I looked back further in the circuit and I found that I did indeed have video here. But I had no video over here. Now this is the same IC. IC 102, half of it, and IC 102, the other half. Just the way they've drawn the schematic. So if I've got video here, obviously the IC is working. Obviously it has power. As you can see, it has its own 9-volt supply. Where was I losing the signal? Well, I was losing the signal somewhere between here and there. And the only place that I thought maybe it might have been lost was here on IC 103, which is why I had to open up all the other boards to get to it. That's a little SIP package. And sure enough, I had video going in pin 7, but I had no video coming out pin 4. So now we'll check the IC power and find that we had no power on the pin number 1, the 9-volt input for this IC. But we have 9 volts over here. So what gives? Well, what gives was the power rail for this IC. It's right over here, and it's going through L107. If we look closely, you'll see that this rail comes right along here, down here, to that junction, through L107. And this other power rail we know is working because, well, first of all, we tested the power going into the board, but It has to be working because this is the one that's powering up the other part of this IC over here. That's the input. So I put the meter on, and sure enough, we had voltage on one side of L107. We had no voltage on the other. That's the culprit. Without the print, this would have been a very difficult unit to service. I'm not going to say impossible, but I would have spent a lot of hours troubleshooting this. And the schematics that we can find today online are a piece of dog shit. Trying to read this off of a black and white scan that somebody has scanned with their black and white scanner at relatively low resolution, or they've scanned it in multiple pages where you've got to print and try to stick pages together. You really need it on paper. Now there are some PDFs that are actually acceptable where you can print them because they're scanned in, 8.5 by 11 page size, and you print out multiple pages and you can stick them together. So you can work with some of them, but a lot of them are crap and very difficult to work with, especially the ones where they have one huge schematic and it won't print out. You try to print it and it tries to cram this whole thing onto one page, and of course, good luck reading that. Really, the good old paper service manuals were a godsend. They made things very easy to work with. So now I can put my other manual back together that's falling apart, put it back into storage for the next time. Now this unit is not ready to go yet because the guy that owns it has been into the tape path. First things first, I'll try some of I got a couple of tapes here. This one's recorded in beta 2 and I have another one that's recorded in beta 1. So I'll see how these play first. These were recorded on my machine. Well, this is not playing at all. It's not even reading the control track. Or not reading it very well. And that's because somebody's been monkeying with the azimuth.
So I'm going to adjust the linear track azimuth off camera here to get it to read, because the tape counter is not advancing at all. So that's one of the reasons why it's not even attempting to track up. So I'll do that off camera and then we'll proceed.
Okay, this one, if I go to normal audio, we seem to have a servo problem. The capstan servo is not locking in. Seems like my tracking control's not doing anything. Well, we have more problems to deal with. One thing I did note when the unit came in was that this corner appears to be a little bit bent. It was this. You can see this foot here. If you look at this foot doesn't look to be true. If you look at it, it looks like it's bent in a bit. So I don't know where this came from, whether the guy bought this used or where it came from, but and it looks like it's been worked on before because there's a screw missing from here. This is the servo board.
Looking at it again, those screws don't have arrows, so those two screws probably were not installed at the factory.
But we have a free running problem, sounds like, for the capstan. This is the servo board here. This is the drum free run here. The capstan free run is, where is it? It's probably down over here. Control track over here. Beta 2, beta 3, beta 2, 2 times speed. Where is my switch point? Reverse tracking control. And one thing I'm dealing with here is the customer was monkeying with the azimuth of the control audio head. He told me he was. He told me he was trying to get it tuned in because it didn't sound right. Well, it didn't sound right because it's not syncing up. And of course, he couldn't see a picture because he had no picture. He just had sound. So he was sitting there fiddling around with the audio head. So I've got that kind of dialed in so that at least it's reading the control track and the counter is moving. Now the counter wasn't moving before, but it's still, if I go into play, you'll hear the music is wowing big time. And this music's okay. This is a Sony demo tape. And the tracking control, if I spin the tracking control, we should hear the speed pitch change, and it's not. See? Yeah, it's in here. See, when I touch the board, it's going to go slower. Just pop that board down. I want to look at the board. See if there's any damage. Damn JS screws. Double-sided board on this one. Pain in the ass. But they break very easy. I'm just going to try the capstan bias, which is this one here. I think it's beta 2 is this one. Okay, that's got the speed. Beta 1, beta 2, beta 3. I think it's beta 3. What is it here? Reverse speed bias. Beta 3 is here. This is beta 2, 2 times speed. Beta 1 adjustment. Okay, now will the tracking control change the phase? Let's see here. Yes, it does. I think my head's clogged up. Okay, let me just clean the head. Now it's playing. Well, our tracking's still off a bit, but at least it's playing. And we go to hi-fi.
Remember the JVC VCRs of this era?
Where are we here?
How ugly they were with all those wires. This is the right way to build a VCR. Sony did it right.
Clean the head. Connected to pin 3 and pin 5 for the trigger. This is for our RF to look at our tape path alignment. As you can see, the tape path is pretty bad. Let's see if we can get this. This is the entry side guide. It's off. Let's see if we can tweak this up a bit. Oh, somebody's been turning this too. I can see it. It's not tight. One thing after another around here. Cameras that won't stay in focus. Yeah, I believe we have a tape tension error here. Watch. Let's just check the tension band. Yeah, the spring's out of position, so I gotta pull the rotor block out of this to get at it. See what I mean here? Look, the spring is not on the tension arm. The spring here. The spring goes around this tension arm. Like this. 10 minutes later, I get the mechanism back into position. These ones are kind of a pain in the butt to get everything to line up. You gotta just wiggle it around a bit until it drops into place. And don't over tighten these screws because these plastic nylon base that they screw into is they get very brittle. And if they break, you're up, you know what, creek without a paddle. So my alignment is looking pretty good now. I got it playing back. This is a Beta 2 tape that was recorded on my machine. I can't play this because I'll get hit with copyright pretty quick. But I'm gonna let this thing run for a bit and make sure that it continues to track up properly. As can be seen now, the tracking is looking pretty good. If I adjust the tracking control, everything's looking pretty good. And I'd say this is just off of my machine. I haven't put the alignment tape in yet. We're gonna do that next. So I want to make sure everything's working on this before I get the factory alignment tape in. As you can see, the picture is playing perfect on this unit now, so we're very, very close. It's been playing now for 3 hours. I just rewound the tape again. Starting to play the tape again, everything's good. Let's try a Beta 1 tape in it now. This is a Beta 1 tape recorded on my SLHF1000. Anyway, you can see the hi-fi sound is good, picture is good on this. I can't let this play because of copyright, but anyway, looking good. Now we'll do the real alignment tape. We'll check the tracking, which is section number 4. Gotta fast forward out to that. We'll check the tracking and the centering for the tracking control. Okay, this is the tracking portion. There's no video on here. Just looks like that. This is one head only, and we use this to check the levels. Tracking control. We're trying to make this as flat as possible. Adjusting the waveform, you see? That's the exit side guide I'm adjusting just to make that flat. The guide I'm adjusting is this one. Got my waveform flat now. This tape is getting pretty low signal level wise. It's just about worn out. It's so old. Those are dropouts, but Beta Hi-Fi, Beta 2. Also some of these lines that you see on the screen, that's the plasma TV interfering. Watch, if I bring my hand near the head, they will get stronger, you see? That's just me. That's just the plasma TV interfering with the picture. Beta 3, this is the linear hi-fi or linear track. This is for adjusting the azimuth for the linear audio head. We're gonna peak the level. The adjustment is right here. That peaks the audio. That peaks the audio for the linear track. It's done at the slowest speed. We'll go back and just double check our tracking. And that should be, it's in around here. Everything's still looking good on the scope. So this one is done pretty much. Alignment back to factory specs. We'll rewind the old tape. I'll give the transport another cleaning, or give the heads another cleaning, just because it's had this really old tape on it and it's probably losing some of its oxide. I got this tape. I had a couple of them. I had this one marked best. But I had a couple of these KR51M tapes. I actually stole this from Sony when I worked for Sony back in 1984. And when I left, I grabbed a couple of these tapes. Well, I grabbed this one. I had another one at the shop that I was working at, and it didn't have the hi-fi. It just had, and they had it all mixed up here. See, they had this listed as color bars, beta 2, monoscope, RF sweep, tracking, and then color bars in beta 3, monoscope, and then color bars, beta hi-fi. But it's actually not. It's actually color bars in beta 2, monoscope, beta 2, RF sweep in beta 2, tracking in beta 2. Then the next track was color bars in beta 2 with hi-fi, and then goes to color bars in beta 3, no hi-fi, monoscope, beta 3, and then finally I think it was color bars in beta 3, hi-fi was the last one. But as I said, this tape, so 1984, it still works, and it's useful for setting up. It's really the only way that you can set them up. The monoscope, if you saw that, this one actually has a split field. It's used for doing the dihedral adjustment. Dihedral adjustment on these machines was performed by special little adjustment screws that you put down through the video head. If you change the head, you put these little screws down and threaded them in through here. What the dihedral adjustment did was you did it only on one head. So you did it on either the A head or the B head. Usually it was the B head. And what it did was it allowed you to shift the head slightly back and forth on the actual disc, the head disc itself, so you could actually move the individual head. And what you saw on the screen, I'll wind it out to that portion. So your dihedral is right here, and this one is good. What's causing it to bend there is a tape tension. It's shifting a bit, but if you look, you'll see the lines kind of Ying out like a Y there. Well, if the dihedral was off, it would be like a Y like that. And what you did is you made a minuscule adjustment, a little bit of time to try and bring the two fields together right here on the split. This is where you would do it. This is actually the head switching point. They've put the head switching point into the raster. Normally that is down at the bottom of the screen, but that's what dihedral was. And if we look at the resolution chart here, you'll see that the number of lines of resolution, if we look down here at the bottom, if I pan the camera down a bit, you can see how many lines of resolution the beta tape is recording. So if we look down here, right at the point where the picture becomes fuzzy, that's the resolution. So you're seeing about 240 lines of resolution. If I point out here, that's 200 lines there. That's 300 lines. It's fuzzing out right about there. That's 250 right there. So 150, 200, 250, 300 lines. 300 lines up here, 350, 400. Beta was just around 240 lines of resolution right there. That's how you looked at resolution. We'll clean the heads again on this one before doing our final couple of test tapes. So this is my beta 1 tape again. I'm going to let this one play through, and then I'll play the beta 3 tape through again, just to verify everything is good. Here's the output, playing with the frame counter displayed. Notice how quick the reel spins in beta 1. Now if this was beta cam, this would be running 3 times faster. As this L750 is good for 90 minutes in beta 1, and if it was beta cam, this would be a 30-minute tape. The L500s were a 20-minute tape on beta cam. This was a new tape when I recorded it. I think I've got 1 or 2 more, I think 2 more brand new Betamax tapes that have never been opened. This is from the last generation. I don't know what year this was, but this was one of the last ones that they made. And I just recorded some stuff off YouTube for testing, which I can't show you because I did it once and I got hit with copyright. I used some footage from Lounge V, which is it's video that's on YouTube, and it says right on their release, it says you can use this footage for public display. If you want to use their footage, their time-lapse footage and stuff that they've got, you can use it in your dentist's office or your doctor's office, or you can have it playing as a demo in your store for selling televisions. But if you include it on social media, they want a separate license. So can't show it. So you'll have to take my word for it. It's working. Anyway, I'm going to let this machine play this tape through a couple times. Just monitor it over the next day or so before I send it out, because this one came to me for a full overhaul. And I don't know where the guy got this from. I don't know whether he bought this in this condition. I think he probably did. And it had no video, as we saw. That little coil, wherever I did with it, this little coil was bad in the 9-volt supply. That was the problem. But the guy that owns it, I think he got into it himself because somebody had screwdrivered the azimuth for the linear head, and they had fiddle-farted around with all the adjustments. That one was loose, and as was this one down here. But anyway, we got it back. Tape path is looking great now, and the picture on it is perfect. So I'm going to close the video off here because we're all done. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next one. Bye for now.